What is good, everybody? It is your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. How are y'all feeling today, Chicago? Billy Donovan, it will not be brought back as the head coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder. And almost immediately, Woj tweeted out connecting Billy Donovan to the Chicago Bulls, saying that the Bulls would be very interested in interviewing Billy Donovan for the head coaching job. So the question today, should the Chicago Bulls bring in Billy Donovan as their next head coach? Let's talk about it right after this. All right, so if you are new to the channel, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page because we do talk Chicago sports weekly, and we don't want you to miss a thing, so make sure that you hit that bell. Now, Billy Donovan and the Oklahoma City Thunder are parting ways. Not a big surprise to me, I don't think. But as soon as it happened, Woj really connected them to the Bulls, saying that they would be looking to interview Billy Donovan as a head coaching candidate for the Chicago Bulls job. So my question to you, should the Chicago Bulls hire Billy Donovan as their next head coach? Now, if I'm looking into Billy Donovan as the Bulls' next head coach, there's a lot of red flags for me. I'm not going to lie to you. To me, you got to look at Billy Donovan as a guy who has had some of the best talent that the NBA has held. And you can't hate on Billy Donovan, right? You definitely cannot hate on him. I think he's got like a 600 win percentage record in the NBA, which is great, which is great. But he's always had some top talent on his team. I mean, in the beginning, he had KD and Russ. Then he had Russ and Paul George. Then he had just Russ for a little while there, you know what I'm saying? Then there was Chris Paul this season. So he's always had decent talent on his team with a superstar player. I'd say he's always had a superstar player on his team. But he's never been able to get the job done in the playoffs. He came close at one season where they were up 3-1 on Golden State, but never able to seal the deal and get that job done in the playoffs. And that's a huge red flag for me. I mean, we're talking about a guy who, for the most part, on most of his teams, had 2 of the top 10 players in the NBA on his team at all times, and he couldn't get the job done with that. Now, is there some other things where filling out the roster where you got to get some other pieces in? I think there is, absolutely. And I think that if you look at somebody like AK, he might be able to put that roster around him. But I'm looking at the things that he did with the Oklahoma City Thunder and his inability to get that job done. And a lot of times you had to look at coaching in those situations. You know what I'm saying? Like, the players on the court, of course, are the ones who have to execute things. But there was a lot of times where we went back after games were finished, after games had been lost, and you looked and you're just like, well, what was Billy Donovan doing in this situation? Like, this is just a bad coaching here. This is a bad situation. So to me personally, I would pass on Billy Donovan. Before I continue with the video, I want to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below, should the Chicago Bulls bring in Billy Donovan? Now, on the flip side, though, you have to look at it as he's the most accomplished coach in this market right now. Even if you bring in a Kenny Atkinson, even if you bring in a Becky Hammond, even if you bring in any of those other assistants, none of them have the resume that Billy Donovan has. I mean, even with everything I said with the playoffs, you know, you could look at that from the flip side and say, well, he ran into the Golden State Warriors. He had to deal with Kevin Durant leaving. He had to deal with Russell Westbrook pretty much being the only star on that team. So you can definitely look at it kind of both ways and say that there were big reasons why Billy Donovan was not successful in Oklahoma City. You can look at it and say, listen, it was Oklahoma City. We couldn't get a free agent to come here that was of any ilk. And maybe things would be different if he were to come to Chicago. Maybe with the right GM around him, putting the right pieces around him, maybe with the right players currently on the roster, he could do something a little different. Because listen, if he's coming into the Bulls, you can't be one-dimensional like you were with OKC. You can't be like, all right, Russ, here's the ball, put it in your hands. You know, I think if he did come to the Bulls, we would see how good of a coach he truly is, because when you're coming to this team, listen, you're coming to a rebuilding team that is trying to find its identity in this league. You're coming to a team that is looking to figure out who the star is on this team. So you're going to have to get everybody involved to make it happen. So you would be able to see Billy Donovan, if he is that top coach, that deserving coach of that job, or if it was just because he had those stars attached to his name. My biggest thing for the Bulls in this whole coaching search is to find the guy who's going to be your coach, not for the next 2 to 3 years. Because we've had that. We've had Boylan. We've had Hoiberg. We've had the Del Negros. Find your coach that's going to be your head coach for the next 5 to 10 years. The guy that's going to get you to the NBA Finals. Find the guy that's going to put players in the perfect position to be successful. Find the guy that's going to be able to sit there in a huddle, draw up the play, and your players can go out there and execute it because they've done it so many times, because they know that this play works, because they understand the execution of it. Find the guy that's going to develop players. Find the guy that's going to teach these guys to be those top caliber players in the NBA. That's what I'm looking for. So to me, I don't know if Billy Donovan is that, because like I said, we haven't seen him be successful outside of the regular season. And the entire time he had 2 of the top 10 players on his team almost all the time. But I want to know your opinion. Let me know in the comments below. Should the Chicago Bulls hire Billy Donovan as their next head coach? I am going to get up out of here. It is your boy, Pat the Designer, back at it again to continue watching our Chicago sports content. Click the link here or check the links in the description below. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Peace.